anything in my phone. I need to go. I need to talk to them. I need my phone.
Cece,
Don't touch me!
What is going on? Like, what are you gonna get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on
purpose. Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You touched Zara. You the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me you dumb. Give me my phone.
You have your phone.
I don't have it anymore. Find it and
What?
find it and charge it!
I'm sorry, Courtney.
I don't care. Find it and charge it.
Okay, just stop.
Don't touch me.
Oh, man.
April 3rd, 2022. Miami, Florida. In one of the city's most luxurious high-rises, One Paraíso, a woman stumbles barefoot into the lobby. Her long blonde hair clings to her face. Her clothes are stained with blood. The front desk stares in confusion. She isn't asking for help. She isn't screaming. She's quiet, dazed. Behind her, in apartment 2201, 27-year-old Christian Obumseli is bleeding out on the kitchen floor from a deep stab wound to the chest. Less than 5 minutes earlier, that woman, Courtney Clenney, a 25-year-old influencer with millions of followers on OnlyFans, had called her mother. Twice. She only called 911 after that. And when she finally did, the dispatcher could still hear Christian's voice, faint and trembling, in the background. "I'm losing feeling, in my arm." Courtney's voice cut in softly. "I'm so sorry." But why was she sorry? According to her, this was self-defense. But according to prosecutors, it was the final act in a long, hidden pattern of violence, one that started long before blood ever touched the floor. To understand what really happened that day in Miami, you have to start with the man everyone forgot to protect. Christian Toby Obumseli. Before he was a headline. Before his name was whispered across podcasts. Before a knife changed everything. Christian Obumseli was just a guy trying to make something of himself. Born in Texas, raised in a tight-knit Nigerian-American household, Christian Toby Obumseli carried with him a culture of deep family values, respect, and discipline. Friends described him as the kind of man who lit up every room. He was charming. Articulate. A natural listener. People trusted him instantly. He attended Texas Tech University, studying communications and business. His Instagram was quiet, clean, professional. No drama. Behind the scenes, he was chasing something big, a future in tech entrepreneurship. He spoke often about starting his own venture. A real dreamer, yes, but the kind that backed up his vision with work. Those who knew him best say Christian was the type of man who always wanted peace. He avoided conflict, kept things private, and often carried the emotional weight of those around him, even if it hurt him. Then, in late 2020, something shifted. He started dating a woman named Courtney Clenney. At first, their lives looked picture-perfect. She was a model, a fitness influencer, and an OnlyFans creator with over 2 million followers. He was quiet, calm, supportive, the man behind the curtain. They moved fast. In early 2022, they relocated together to Miami, into a luxury high-rise at One Paraíso. On the outside, it was glamorous, beachfront views, designer clothes, romantic selfies. But inside, friends say the cracks had already started to show. Christian's personality began to change. He started showing up late to family events. He missed birthdays. He stopped posting on social media altogether. His older brother would later say, "We were watching him disappear in real time." In private conversations, Christian hinted at trouble. He told one friend that Courtney would get angry out of nowhere.
Anyway, I was sober for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And now why am I not sober? Because of you. You're hindering my progress.
You need to sit down. You need to sit
Let go of me.
Yes.
Let go of me.
Come on.
Let go of me.
Okay.
Come on, boy. Let go of me.
What?
I can't even, I'll talk to you later. Get the off me.
That she'd throw things, curse, even hit him. But he always followed it up with the same words. It's not a big deal. I can handle it. He never told his parents. Never told his church. Never called the police. Because men like Christian don't see themselves as victims. And the world doesn't make it easy for them to say otherwise. Even as the relationship turned toxic, Christian stayed. Some say it was love. Others say it was guilt. He was reportedly helping manage her finances, and possibly her OnlyFans content. That blurred line between personal and professional made walking away complicated. By March 2022, friends noticed something alarming. Christian was sleeping at friends' houses. Courtney had kicked him out of their apartment. But just days later, he was back. They reconciled. They always did. But it wasn't reconciliation. It was a reset before the next explosion. April 3, 2022. A Sunday. Clear skies over Biscayne Bay. Christian Obumseli walks through the lobby of One Paraiso for what would be the last time. Security key fob data later confirmed. He entered the building at 4:32 p.m. What happened between that moment and the next 25 minutes has haunted investigators, friends, and family ever since. Courtney Clenney and Christian had reportedly reconciled just 2 days earlier after a brief split. She'd kicked him out in late March, but they were back together. This wasn't new for them. It was a pattern. By 4:33, Christian is in the apartment. The door closes. Neighbors upstairs and below report hearing shouting almost immediately. Then screaming. Banging. A dog barking wildly. At 4:46 p.m., security at One Paraiso contacts Miami police. The noise from Unit 2201 is extreme. Something is wrong. But by the time officers arrive, Christian is on the floor, bleeding heavily from a single stab wound to the chest. That stab. It cut through skin, fat, muscle, and penetrated his subclavian artery, a major vessel just beneath the collarbone. The kind of wound that can cause massive internal bleeding in minutes. Courtney claimed she threw the knife at him from across the room. That it was self-defense. But the angle and depth of the wound, according to the medical examiner, were inconsistent with that claim. It wasn't a glancing wound. It was deep. Precise. Intentional. Investigators would later note something chilling. Courtney didn't call 911 right away. Between 4:33 and 4:57 p.m., she made 2 separate phone calls. Not to the police. Not to paramedics. But to her mother in Texas. What exactly was said during those calls has not been released. But prosecutors believe she was getting advice. Before she said anything official. Before she asked for help. Finally, at 4:57 p.m., she calls 911. The recording, summarized publicly by Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle, is hard to listen to. In the background, Christian can be heard moaning, saying he can't feel his arm. Courtney is crying. Repeating. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Police arrived to find Christian barely conscious, lying near the kitchen island. Blood everywhere. Courtney is also bleeding, minor injuries on her arms and chest. She tells officers she was defending herself. In the sink. A blood-covered 4-inch blade. Courtney says she threw it. But detectives don't buy it. And neither would the medical examiner, weeks later. Back downstairs, the front desk attendant, who had spoken to Courtney moments earlier, told police something odd. Courtney hadn't seemed panicked. She looked disoriented, yes. But calm. By the time Christian arrived at the hospital, it was too late. He was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. What began as shouting had ended in silence. But the apartment wasn't the only thing that held evidence. There was a trail of calls, complaints, police visits, and soon, security camera footage, that would expose a pattern far more disturbing than anyone expected. Courtney Taylor Clenney. Online, she was bold. Flawless. The kind of woman who turned heads, built an empire, and made millions by curating desire. But behind the ring lights and filtered selfies, there was another side. One documented by 911 calls, police body cams, security footage, and witness statements. One her followers never saw. Courtney rose to fame fast, modeling, fitness coaching, podcast appearances. By 25, she was living in a high-rise condo in Miami, pulling in 6 figures monthly on OnlyFans. But Miami police say she was also spiraling. Publicly beautiful. Privately volatile. Their relationship with Christian, according to multiple reports, was defined by frequent, escalating conflict. One neighbor told local reporters they saw the couple arguing nearly every week. In the building's records, there were multiple complaints about noise and disturbances coming from apartment 2201. But it didn't start in Miami. In January 2022, just months before the killing, the couple was in Aspen, Colorado, when police were called to a disturbance. No charges were filed. But it wouldn't be the last call. In February, just weeks before Christian's death, bodycam footage captured police speaking to Clenney inside their condo after another alleged altercation. In that video, she tells officers Christian was stalking her. But police said she was the one too agitated to be left alone, and suggested she stay elsewhere for the night. Behind closed doors, witnesses say she'd explode over small things. Jealousy. Minor arguments. Alcohol was often involved. But the most damning evidence came not from stories, but from security camera footage inside their own building. In the weeks before the murder, elevator video shows Courtney physically attacking Christian, slapping and punching him while he tries to de-escalate and avoid hitting her back. He never raised a hand. Prosecutors say this wasn't a one-time loss of control. It was a pattern. And when police finally questioned her after the stabbing, they noted her shifting story. She claimed Christian threw her against a wall. That she threw the knife in self-defense. But there were no defensive wounds on her. The knife traveled too deeply, too precisely, to have been tossed. And Christian, by all accounts, never fought back. Still, people asked, why did he stay? Those closest to Christian say it wasn't just love. They believe he felt responsible. That he was managing her content, helping with her income, even financially supporting her brand behind the scenes. Whether it was love, loyalty, or entrapment. He kept coming back. And every time he did, the cycle spun tighter. Until April 3rd. When it finally broke. At first, public sympathy leaned toward Courtney Clenney. In the hours after the stabbing, her attorney framed it as clear self-defense. Courtney, he claimed, had been a victim of an aggressive, manipulative partner. That Christian was the abuser. That she feared for her life. It worked, at least at first. She wasn't arrested. She wasn't charged. She wasn't even held. Instead, she vanished. Courtney left Miami and flew to Hawaii, where she checked into a facility described by her team as rehab for PTSD and substance abuse. But behind the scenes, investigators were building a case. They reviewed bodycam footage. They analyzed key fob logs. They pulled her call records. They examined the knife trajectory and her changing statements. And then, they reviewed the elevator footage. What they saw shattered the self-defense narrative. In one clip, just weeks before Christian's death, Courtney was seen inside the apartment elevator physically attacking him. Repeatedly. Slapping. Punching. Screaming. Christian didn't strike back. He didn't even raise his voice. He just tried to protect himself. That video, released publicly months later, sparked outrage. Suddenly, the victim narrative collapsed. On August 10, 2022, after 4 months of silence, Courtney Clenney was arrested by U.S. Marshals at a rehab center in Hawaii. She was charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon and extradited back to Florida. Prosecutors laid it out simply. This was not a single moment of panic. It was the violent result of a long pattern of abuse, and Christian, they said, was the one suffering. Courtney's team continues to claim otherwise. But the public had already turned. The world no longer saw her as the victim. And for the first time, people began asking, what if Christian was never the threat? What if he was the warning no one listened to, until it was too late? As of now, Courtney Clenney remains behind bars in Miami, charged with second-degree murder. She's pleaded not guilty. Her trial date has yet to be set. Her legal team insists she acted in fear. That Christian was emotionally volatile. That what happened on April 3rd was tragic, but justified. But the evidence tells another story. And Christian's family? They're still waiting. For justice. For accountability. For the world to remember who he really was, not just the boyfriend of a headline name. The internet remains divided. Some blame Courtney. Some blame Christian. But in all the noise, one thing keeps getting lost. The warning signs were everywhere. There were police reports. There were witnesses. There were bruises, screaming matches, and 911 calls. And somehow, they were still allowed to stay together. Why? Why didn't anyone step in? What kind of love becomes so toxic, it ends in blood? And what did Christian see in her? Even as the walls closed in. Some stories have clear villains. Some don't. But one truth remains. One man is dead. One woman is in jail. And one question still haunts that Miami high-rise. Did anyone ever try to stop this before it was too late?